This is marriage wisdom for wives who want a long marriage. There is something that quietly shifts inside a marriage long before anyone says the word separation. It is not always betrayal. It is not always conflict. It is often respect. When a wife begins losing respect for her husband internally, the marriage feels it immediately, even if she never says it out loud. Respect is not only verbal, it is tonal, it is facial, it is energetic, it is behavioral. You can lose respect quietly. You can lose respect gradually. You can lose respect without announcing it. And when that happens, atmosphere changes, tone sharpens, patience shortens, sarcasm increases, correction becomes frequent, gratitude decreases, and over time, the emotional climate cools. Now, understand this clearly. Losing respect does not always begin with something dramatic. Sometimes it begins with disappointment left unprocessed, unmet expectations not communicated, roles shifting without discussion, resentment not addressed. And instead of addressing it maturely, it becomes silent contempt. Contempt is subtle. It is eye-rolling. It is dismissive tone. It is speaking about him differently to others. It is minimizing his effort. And contempt is dangerous because once contempt settles in, admiration leaves. And admiration is fuel. Men thrive where they feel admired. They withdraw where they feel belittled. Some wives think if he would just do better, I'd respect him more. But respect does not grow in constant criticism. It grows in acknowledgement of effort. It grows in space. It grows in partnership. Now, here is the mature part. If you have lost respect, you must ask yourself why. Is it because of repeated irresponsibility? Or is it because of unmet expectations you never clarified? Is it because he truly failed in character? Or because he is different in personality? There is a difference. Difference is not deficiency, but many wives interpret difference as incompetence. And over time, that interpretation erodes respect. When respect erodes, tone changes. When tone changes, safety changes. When safety changes, connection changes. And when connection changes, marriage weakens. Long marriages survive because respect is protected intentionally, not emotionally. Intentionally. You do not have to agree with everything to remain respectful. You do not have to feel inspired every day to remain disciplined. But you must guard tone. You must guard posture. You must guard language. If you speak about your husband as if he is small, he will eventually feel small. And small men do not lead confidently. They withdraw. Now here is hope. Respect can be rebuilt, but rebuilding respect begins internally. You must decide, I will not rehearse what I have chosen to forgive. I will not narrate his weaknesses publicly. I will not correct with contempt. I will not respond with sarcasm, because sarcasm sounds clever, but it destroys warmth. Long marriages are not built on cleverness. They are built on care. And care shows up in restraint. If respect has weakened, start small. Change tone. Change facial response. Change correction style. Increase acknowledgement. Notice effort. Because effort recognized expands. Disrespect shrinks initiative. Respect fuels growth. And growth restores admiration. When admiration returns, warmth returns. When warmth returns, connection returns. And connection is what sustains longevity. But here is something many wives do not realize. You can stay married and still live in quiet disrespect. You can remain in the same house, share the same bed, manage the same responsibilities, and yet emotionally detached through contempt. Contempt does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It shows up in how you introduce him to others, and how you tell stories about him, and how you exaggerate his flaws for humor, and how you dismiss his opinion before he finishes speaking. That is erosion, and erosion is slow, but it is steady. Respect erodes in repetition, and repetition reshapes perception. If you constantly frame him as incapable, you begin seeing him as incapable. If you constantly point out weakness, you begin believing weakness is all that exists. And eventually, admiration disappears. And without admiration, desire weakens. Partnership cools. Emotional openness closes. Now ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you admired him? Not tolerated him, not managed him, admired him. Admiration is powerful. It communicates, I see your effort. I see your growth. I see your intention. And even imperfect men grow under admiration, but men shrink under contempt. Now let's balance this clearly. This does not mean you ignore real issues. This does not mean you accept irresponsibility. This does not mean you silence yourself. It means correction must be clean. Clean tone, clean intention, clean delivery. Not humiliation, not sarcasm, not public shaming. Because once public disrespect enters a marriage, it becomes very difficult to restore private dignity, especially in front of children. Children internalize tone more than they remember words. They learn what partnership sounds like. They learn what leadership looks like. They learn what respect feels like. And if they watch contempt regularly, they normalize it. Long marriages require emotional maturity at a level that is uncomfortable sometimes, because you must check yourself. You must say, am I reacting from disappointment or from ego? Am I correcting to improve or correcting to control? Am I addressing an issue or proving a point? There is a difference. If you are proving a point, you will win arguments and lose connection. If you are improving partnership, you will protect connection even during disagreement. Respect also requires perspective. Every marriage has weaknesses. Every husband has blind spots. Every wife has blind spots. But if you magnify flaws daily, they will dominate your emotional lens. And whatever you magnify becomes your focus. Instead of magnifying weaknesses, start noticing consistency. Notice provision. Notice reliability. Notice commitment. Notice effort, even small effort, because effort acknowledged expands. If you want to rebuild respect, begin with gratitude. Gratitude shifts perception. Perception shifts tone. Tone shifts atmosphere. And atmosphere shifts connection. Respect is not rebuilt through demand. It is rebuilt through modeling. You model dignity. You model maturity. You model restraint. You model appreciation. And over time, modeling influences atmosphere. Atmosphere influences behavior. And behavior influences growth. Long marriages are not sustained because everything feels perfect. They are sustained because someone decides, I will protect respect in this house. Not just when it feels easy, but when it feels inconvenient. Not just when I am impressed, but when I am irritated. Because irritation is temporary, but the words spoken in irritation can linger. And lingering words create distance. Distance creates emotional coldness. Coldness creates disconnection. And disconnection weakens longevity. If you want decades, you must protect dignity. Not occasionally, consistently. Respect is not a mood. It is a discipline. And discipline builds stability. Stability builds trust. Trust builds longevity. And that is how long marriages are built.